Ready? Okay. So I'm taking a look at this piece today, but before I get started, I wanted to tell you guys that Portrait Studio and everything on my store will be on sale this weekend, so starting tomorrow. So my masterclass is currently not full price, of course, but it's up there, and it will be on sale for 50% off coming soon. This weekend, and it will be on sale for like June, maybe July as well. I'm not really sure. Usually I just extend the sales, but I have two big sales a year, and this is the summer sale that's starting. Right now on my Discord, I have, let me just get the link for you guys. I have, wait, never mind. The link is right here. I completely forgot. A challenge currently running on my subreddit. The subreddit challenge is, so you just go to istebrak.com and you click on the subreddit icon right here. That'll take you to my subreddit. Basically, what you're going to be doing is designing creatures based off floral designs. So you're going to pick a flower that exists today, a real flower, and you're going to turn it into a creature. And the winner gets 2 portfolio review sessions with me. So one-on-one tutoring sessions, along with a free masterclass, a free portrait studio. And it's not always about the one who painted it the best. It's about the one who put in the most effort. So that anyone watching on YouTube, you're all welcome. It's a free challenge. It's open to everyone. So all you got to do is go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon. That'll take you to where I'm hosting the challenge. And this is where we'll start seeing pieces submitted here. The due date for this challenge is going to be late June or early July. So it's like a nice, in sync with all the blooming flowers all around us. So let's get started for today. So I was looking at this mermaid drawing. And this drawing looks good. It looks good. I like where you're going with it. But you've ignored the perspective on the head. So let's drag in the image. Let's drag it in and talk about the perspective of the head. So if we were to look at the perspective, ears reveal perspective right away. So the ears would be somewhere here. Right? This is the head. So ears reveal perspective. Always look for the ears for the perspective. So this would be the top of her head, somewhere here. Okay, and the ears would be lined up with, or not lined up with the eyes, but if we were to draw only straight lines, the ears are above the eye line. But if we were to draw the curve of the head, we would see the ears above. So imagine a basketball, and imagine a perfectly straight line drawn around the basketball. So imagine the basketball is wearing a little belt. Okay. Here's the basketball. He's so happy with his little belt. So let's say that we looked at the basketball from a top view. What would happen to that belt? That belt would rotate. That belt would reveal the rotation. So there he is. Well, he's still very happy with his belt. Okay, so we can now see the circular shape. So this is the top of his head. This is the X on the top of his head. We don't see it that much from a head on, but we can see it very clearly from top down. So we would see the X on top of her head, and we would see the belts of the eye curve. That means that it's revealed that the ears are not aligned with the eyes. The ears are above the eyes, even if she had elf ears. So we look at your piece, and you didn't do that. You made the face like tilt in such a way. So this is annoying me. Image. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Muscle memory. Image size. Oh my goodness, look at how small this size is. Let's see if I can enlarge it. What was I doing? I'm just shocked by how small the size was. So if we were to what was I doing? Oh, right. I was going to do this. So the body is tilted like that. The tail is over here. right? And she's like kind of leaning forward. She's tilted her head so it looks directly at the screen, at the monitor. So it's like she cranked her neck in such an unnatural way, you know, like she really forced her neck to be visible specifically for the camera. This camera catering, which is, hey, where's my camera? I'm always going to point the face at the camera. I'm always going to make things symmetrical. It shows that there is, if you were my student, that's how I would diagnose your level. Students that, I typically, I mean, it's very, very general system. Very general system. Don't necessarily take it with a grain of salt, but also don't take it too seriously. We've got beginner. We've got intermediate. And then we've got advanced. This is how I diagnose my students, okay? So beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Beginner doesn't have perspective. There's no perspective in anything they do. There's hardly symmetry. In intermediate, there's a little bit of perspective, but there is symmetry. Symmetry, they got that. But, so let's write symmetry. They barely have symmetry. And then symmetry, does it have two M's? I forget. They definitely have it. Advanced, but they don't have perspective. But these guys don't have perspective. They barely have symmetry, maybe like half symmetry. I don't know why my brush is acting weird. Perspective, they sort of have it, but like they have some of it. Okay, here they have almost no perspective. Advanced has all of them, along with all the other fundamentals. Even if they're not the best at symmetry, or not the best at perspective, or not the best at perfect contrast control, not the best at gestures, they at least have 60% of the potential of that fundamentals realism. So when we look at an artist who has adjusted the reference, again, the reference has perspective. They've omitted the perspective. This is what downgrades them. Not that it's bad to downgrade anywhere. Nobody stays a beginner forever. Write that back to me. A beginner is a temporary gas station. You're just refueling your little car at the gas. Okay, this is a truck, I guess. This is just the beginner gas station, all right? It's not permanent. It's just a stop. I'm not labeling you forever as the beginner, and you'll, you know, get vengeance on me one day and oh, Istebrak once called me a beginner and now I'm going to be a villain. No, I'm just saying, you know, it's just a temporary period, but there is a benefit to knowing where you are and why you are where you are. And it's because even when symmetry was visible, you ignored it and you adjusted the reference so that you have, perspective. I'm so sorry. Even when perspective was visible, you ignored it. An intermediate, a late intermediate, so you can have something in between intermediate and advanced. I have students that have never touched a brush, and I have students that are far into advanced. So there's, you know, there's a middle ground in between each level, and you have beginner, intermediate, middle intermediate, early intermediate, late intermediate. Most students watching that have a portfolio are probably middle to late intermediate, especially if you started, you know, like a long time ago. You're probably just figured things out by now. Students that are starting now in the Procreate era are not going to stay beginners for long. Digital makes people advance way faster than traditional. We had to work with traditional and then jump into digital. So our entire timeline for how we got better at art is so different from the Procreate era. Or the tablet era. So it's good to know where you are. And it's good to know why you are where you are. And it's not permanent. It's just a gas station. It's just temporary. All right? It's just a stop. You're just stopping to refuel and you're moving on. So that's why this has beginner feeling to it. That's why this has a little bit of that awkwardness. However, you are doing early intermediate, middle intermediate choices. For instance, you picked a reference and stuck with it. You're trying to work with gesture. You're doing a lot. Do you see what I mean? How beginner and intermediate can overlap, and you have late beginner or early intermediate. What's the word? Clues in your work. So that's what I mean when I say It's a very, very beginner mistake to ignore the perspective. It's common. Let's fix it. Let's change it a little bit. Let's try to get this perspective back. Because one, this perspective is cool. It's so cool. Look at her face. She's got, first of all, you picked a great reference. She's got a great face that looks really, really nice from top view. Meaning she's got enough volume in all her features for us to do something with it. She's got cheekbones, but it's going to make it easy. She's got a little bit of a bump before her chin. These are all going to make it super easy for you to capture this top-down perspective. It's just that as soon as we say perspective, students freak out and run away and scurry away because it's very mathy. And it's actually not math at all. It's just stacking. It's just shape overlap. So let me keep the reference open with Liquify open. Hopefully my freaking brush doesn't freak out on me. But I'm just going to apply this perspective. It means we're not looking at the nostril holes anymore. Do we see her nostril holes? No. So I'm pulling up the nostrils, but pushing down the nose tip to create that perspective in the nose. All right, so there's that. The lips also need to have that perspective. She has a bit of a dragging happening to her mouth. When you lean your face over, all of the fat of your face starts to pull towards the bottom. I love when artists capture that. It's so cool. And of course, there's the eyes. They need to have that downward C shape. And we need to make sure that the eyes feel like they are closing. So leaving most of that dark circle, dark line of the lash to do the work for us to represent that the eyes have tilted down. So you can see I'm doing some sweeping changes. Unfortunately, in this reference, we can't see where the ears are, but the ears are way up here. So that's what's keeping this very, very well drawn drawing from looking a little bit more advanced, is this complete disregard of your reference's perspective. And I'll talk about stacking in a second. So all I'm doing now is making it look like the ears are beside the face, not in front of the face. The ears, the way you drew them, they look like they were beside. And though, yes, you drew a pretty face, you're going to learn as you get better that the perspective is prettier than a pretty face. Do you see what I'm saying? It's nicer to see that in a reference than to see a perfect face staring at the camera, 14-day challenge style. 14-day challenge is not a template for compositions, guys. It's just a 14-day challenge. It's just a study. It's just a study composition. It's not even a composition. It's just a study. You're using a microscope, and your face is in a little slide, and that's it. Like that doesn't go further than that. These are not meant to be turned into illustrations, because that would be one boring ass illustration. If it's a study, that's different. You know, so if your gallery is full of studies, that's different. You're just going to call it a study. But these are not really illustrations the way we look at 14-day challenges. So I would like to flip the canvas, but before I do you see what I mean? I mean, it's got a charm to it, a face that's just staring at the reference, at the camera, sorry, but look at how awkward it feels. It feels very awkward. Whereas here, the beautiful tucked away charm of the face, you'll find advanced artists, beginner artists, every level are going to like your drawing, because you're going to give the eyes something else other than a perfectly head-on face, and which is very cheesy and very, very kind of like it's not really offering much. It's just a head-on face. We're seeing too much. And when we see too much, the painting gets boring. So I'm drawing an edge right over right here just to hide away that ear behind the edge of the face. And I'm starting to just try to create some edges. So before I do, I need to figure out what's happening. So what I'm doing now is just trying to complete the painting, basically, as much as I can. Don't ignore the perspective, because the perspective is better than, you see how my brush is just not working? I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. It keeps doing this. I tried to fix it, but it just keeps happening. Okay, so I'm just trying to find the same light source, the same kind of feel. And I like the reference you picked because it has this serenity to it when the face is just, you know, aiming down out of the way, not always catering to the camera. It makes the audience look deeper into the painting to try to see her face. You face that face right directly at the camera, the audience doesn't have to do much, and so they don't feel like they're being pulled into the painting as much as if you had followed the reference and what the reference had on it. Don't be afraid of perspective. Even if your strength is front view faces, you should still try different perspectives. It's really going to go a long way with your gallery, with the jobs you get. It looks more professional. It's more intriguing. And so that's all I did today, is I just allowed that perspective to take over. And what did that do? It created that sense of coziness, that tucked away feeling, that serenity of the mermaid. So at least we got to do one mermaid painting this month. All right, so I'm just trying to do that detail there. Just showing the weight of the eyeball and showing the dome-like shape of the eyeball. So when I say perspective, this is what I mean. All right, you got a pearl necklace. It's a cute little pearl necklace. The person who's wearing the pearl necklace did a 3/4 change in their angle. What happens to the pearls on the pearl necklace? They start stacking on each other. So now one is behind the other. Okay, now we don't just stack them, we shrink them. And now it looks like there's a ball all the way over there and there's a ball here on top of this surface. And you keep shrinking them and it'll look like they're really disappearing. So we've shrunken in scale and we've stacked. We've overlapped. That's all perspective is. Perspective isn't like 2 to the power of 17 of function. You know, it's not that. It's not a beautiful mind stuff. And take that and then just a fraction and then I don't know, another fraction. Okay, that's not perspective. Perspective is it's all visual maths. It's not math. There's no measurement involved. By measurement, I mean mathematical formulaic measurement. We're not talking about like the stuff astrophysicists do when measuring the distance of a star or something like that. We're just talking about the visual 2 dimensions we live in. And this is all that is. It's just a change in perspective when it comes to scale and the overlap. There are things that can be drawn on top of these objects that when rotated look different. But again, that's the exact same thing. That's the overlap. That's the distortion. Each surface of these pearls is a vanishing line, is a horizon line on which things vanish. So as something rotates, parts of it start to disappear. That's all perspective means. That's all stacking is. And so when I'm teaching students figure drawing and we're doing gestures and we're getting into drawing gestures that have some perspective, that's what I'm looking for. I tell them I want to see objects stacking on other objects. And I want to see overlap, and I want to see scale change. If the arm is all the way back there holding a dagger, and the other arm is closer to the foreground, well, we're going to have a scale change, and we're going to have a hand that looks almost as large as the head, or larger for that perspective. That's all it means. And once they learn, oh, that's all I'm looking for is size change An overlap? Well, that's easy. I know how to find that. If you've got a set of eyes that work, you can, no offense to anyone who has blindness, disability, I'm sorry, that was very crass of me. Then you can do perspective. It's not some unique, only students with a mathematical mind can do it, and everybody who's watched Scott Robertson and not failed at drawing little mechs or something like that. No, you don't have to be super talented at mechanical drawings or architecture or math. Full respect to Scott, though. You don't have to be inclined to the STEM or anything like that to be able to apply perspective in your work. It's not a type of artist that you have to be. It's very, very approachable, very, very easy to digest. Study that you can do. It's very easy to understand. It's one of the easiest subjects to teach. Imagine like a student being told, hey, just put one object in front of the other, versus, hey, your perspective, your contrast is not representing matter. Which one of those do you think is more complex? Which one of those do you think is, obviously everyone has struggles with different subjects, but as a teacher, from a teacher's perspective, just to give you peace of mind, it is so much harder to teach a student to accept the laws of contrast and color exposure and color theory and light than it is to teach them stacking. Stacking, they just pick that shit up right away. But then contrast, that takes so much more mileage. That's not a one lesson thing. That's a multi-lesson layer thing when it comes to contrast and blocking, teaching them how to block, teaching them how to shed the line and line dependence. I mean, all those things are so much harder to digest and actually accept as a developing artist than just stacking and changing the scale. So you're going so far as trying to capture this beautiful mermaid tail detail, which I don't recommend you change at all. This is beautiful. Just leave it alone. Don't do any more to it. Leave it. Don't touch it. It's beautiful. I love what you did with it. It's very it's representing what's happening on this on the tail, but it's not giving away too much. It's leaving the attention back here. So I would definitely leave that alone. But now that we added the perspective, all we did was change the perspective. Let's see what it did. It elevated the painting. I haven't finished adjusting the painting yet, but I just wanted to show you that little bit. Right, look at that. Look at all of that we got from that. Before, standard, basic, turned a face study into a painting. Look, very straight on with the camera. We're seeing everything. Nothing is being tucked away. After, a little bit more of a mystery involved. We're not seeing everything. She's looking away from us, which makes us curious about her. So, so before, after, before, after. So what I'm going to do now is just talk about some of these extra features you've got here. So this, let me just get, what are we talking about here? Let me just get this back. So this arm looks really, really intense. It's a very, very big arm. So let's go back to liquefy again. Okay. So what I'm seeing in the reference is the head is much bigger than in our recreation. And though the arm is long, the arm is not that thick. Also, sometimes the features of people in references don't always look this nice. They don't always look right as a painting. They don't look this proportionate or nice to look at as a painting. As soon as they get turned into a painting, something is weird. Something is not quite right. So let's shrink her arms a little bit. I'm also going to make a final decision on the back of the shoulders and try to just shrink the arm a little bit and shorten the arm. So I have to liquefy pinch as well. I'm going to try to do that all with just one liquefy. Maybe make her pinky stick out a little bit more. Okay, so we're just shrinking the arm. Maybe I can use pinch here. And shortening the arm. Nope, that's too skinny. It just feels like they're very, very bulky. They're very large for this particular character and her features. We haven't painted the exact same character you have. Okay, and then I'm just going to clean up the edges. I'm going to add a little something to the lighting, not too much. And I just wanted to show you how close you were to finishing this painting. How almost done you were. Also, don't neglect the tail of the mermaid, because that's kind of what it's all about when it comes to mermaids. So maybe I can add a little bit of a tail here. I'm trying to follow your general rhythm for the color that you used and the style. No, really amazing job on how you captured that that scale detail. And then just getting soft brush and then just receding the tail back into the background. Select inverse. And then just adding some kind of detail right at the fins, or whatever they're called. Just whatever I can get away with from this low point in the canvas. There we go. Just a little bit. It's not so scaly in that area. It's mostly overlappy, you know, fanny type of lacy look. But again, I don't want it to attract too much attention away from the focal point. So now I'm just going to bring in a light source that I feel like would really complement this piece. Before I do, I just want to show that the tail is rotating ever so slightly away, and maybe just letting the tail disappear along the edges into the background. So just along the edges, I'm slowly receding the tail into the shadow. Do you see that difference? It just makes it look like she's emerging out of the shadow. I'm going to do the same thing with the arm. All of this is done from a distance. And I'm just going to flatten, actually, I'm going to just merge those. So before, after, okay? And then now I'm just contemplating bringing in a really strong overhead light. So the strong overhead light in this case would be what would kind of make this piece feel like it's offering something a little extra, other than just the mermaid looking away. So I'm over providing the amount of light I need, and I'm going to delete away what I don't want with my eraser. So I'm going to delete around the edge. So never be afraid to make a more dramatic lighting. It's not going to hurt you to just duplicate the layer and just try something. It's not unforgiving. We're drawing in digital, remember, so it's not going to be that much of a sacrifice to just give it a shot. All of your values were too matte. They were a little bit too flat, and you need something a little bit different. You need something extra. So what I'm doing is I'm allowing that rim light, or that top-down light, that kind of surface light. She's just soaking in the sunlight, warming up. I'm going to just let that hug the edge. I do like the pink here, that subsurface color. Don't want to get rid of it. So I'm just letting it hug along the edge of her character. just along the top. I liked what was happening with the arm, but I didn't want it to be drowning in light. I just wanted a little bit. But, you know, the decisions I make aren't the only ones that'll look good. There are a lot of decisions that we can make about light combination, color combination, and the painting will still look good. So you have a huge margin of, not error, but like a huge choice, diversity that it'll still look good as long as you keep the light source in mind. Things won't be so difficult to figure out. And so before, after, and I'm just letting some of that value come in, and then I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to try to get some of her red hair to catch the light as well, maybe even along the edges, almost like a subsurface that's just traveling along the edge of her hair. All right, again, deleting where I don't need. And the hair will need a lot more work than that. You'll need to make it more sinewy. You'll need to make it have a little bit more presence. But I'm basically bringing in a ton of light from the top, just as she's floating around under the water. And then, just trying to create this floating kind of weightless look to the hair, which I will then blur. Also, another reason why a painting won't necessarily look interesting is that she's perfectly aligned with the canvas. You can always like tilt, you know, a character over. You can make us see her upside down. There are so many different ways for you to really capitalize on the fact that you're drawing a weightless character. There's so many ways to make a character look weightless. The cameraman isn't necessarily grounded on the ground. Like, we're seeing this character under the water. So you have a lot to play with. And you can ignore the gravity. You can ignore all of that. And you just have this whole other world to pull from. So I'm just like I'm just letting my hands paint right now. I'm not really thinking too hard. I'm just thinking like weightless. I'm just thinking floating in the water. What would hair do? And I'm trying to capture that. And those are all the parts of the hair that are getting the light directly. Yeah, this brush is acting. So it's like I'm losing pen pressure. Okay, and then I'm just going to, oof, this is still happening. This is really annoying. I'm just going to blur this. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur real quick. And then I'm going to smudge it a little bit just to hurry along the finished look. But of course, you'll have way more time. And then the same thing for the top layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I'm just going to like delete some of the hairs as they recede into the darker parts of the water. And try to get some of them shining a little bit more than others. Create that shine that sits along the hair. And just create that shadow of her head, which is the part of her head that's not getting any light. So really, most of the hair is illuminated from behind, wherever you have hair that's just kind of a little bit more distant. And I'm just casting a shadow this way and that way. And then I'm just going to bring in the light from the top. It can be any color you want. It can be warmer. It can be cooler. It'd be really cool if it was like a warm color, but let me just stay analogous colors. and just try to throw in that light from the top. And just bringing it in from the top like that. So what we can do now is kind of use it to just illuminate some areas here and there. Maybe this one, no. Yeah. And then I'm just going to delete wherever the light can't see. So all these extra areas can get a little less. So that little bit of color goes a long way. I don't like how it's making some of the hair purple. So we can try a different, no, color dodge is nicer. We can try just like a different combination. And it doesn't have to be an intense light either. It can be a very, very delicate light. And I would recommend some of that light just like floating in from the sides, something like that, just like a little bit here and there. Water pockets, not water pockets, but like the underwater world looks a little bit like almost like dappled lighting. You can mess around with it a little bit more, just to have it feel more like an open area with lots of water reflecting, lots of surfaces, lots of scattering of light happening, reflecting light. And just a little bit of a shine on the hair. Maybe I've already overdone it a little bit. And a little bit of extra light in the hair there. So this is just a small little completion of what you had going on already. But it's just to show you that a lot can be completed just by finishing the perspective. But I just wanted to add a little bit more to the painting. So I'm just adding the reflection of the back side of the tail. I'm not really trying to render it. I'm just adding its reflection, or not reflection, but like the light kind of hanging out on it. Okay. So we're looking at a little bit more light, a little bit more. Let me darken it a little bit more, actually, because I want to see it a little closer to what you did. Oh, whoopsie. Okay, so I'm just darkening some areas. So most of the light is coming in from the top. I would try to add a bit of extra highlight on the arm, just a little bit more, if you are going to go for that extreme light. But again, there are different levels of this of these changes. So I'm going to find where we left off before the hair, just with the perspective change, not with the extra tail or any of the highlight that I did. So I'm just going kind of all the way back. Okay, and so merge down and then after. So this is just with the perspective change, right? So before, after. I'm not liking that weird. All right, so before, after, and we're just using this perspective right here. We're just staying true to it. And then with that little bit of extra kind of like water life. And you can change the colors, you can mess around with it, but you have so much more to do with the perspective, and it really just gets you so close to the completion. It gets you so close to a finished painting. I mean, even this looks finished, but something about a head-on perspective that's really off anatomy and it kind of looks off is going to make the painting look unfinished. And anatomical mistakes, even though the painting is done, an anatomical mistake makes the painting look unfinished. It is a bit of an anatomical mistake because the neck feels like it's doing something that's very hard to do in that angle without having just a little bit of perspective. This is almost zero perspective. This is directly head on with the camera. We can see the nostrils. I mean, I just want you to try to do that same angle. You really have to do something uncomfortable. But the body changes a little bit. And the best artists who know this stuff are animators because they have to animate this type of motion. And so they're very, very aware and very particular about their stacking and their perspective. Animators are just like the best at this stuff. Absolutely the best at it because they spend the most time on this type of change from here to here. From here to here. Remember that the perspective I'm talking about really is strictly just overlap. That's it. It's just one object in front of the other. So the cheekbone, so exactly what object is in front of what object. So this cheekbone, this whole cheekbone area is in front of the chin. Okay, the forehead bone is in front of the eye socket. The nose is in front of itself, so we can't really see the nostrils, and in front of the upper lip. We're seeing objects in front of other objects, circle in front of circle. Okay, so if you were to draw a head, you would just draw it from head on. You would just draw the straight line, the two lines here, and the jawline. But in head on, in overhead perspective, you have to, one second, you have to draw the cheekbone in front, the nose in front, the back of the head, the ears have been pushed back. We see less of the jawline and more of the chin. So this whole section gets deleted. And not just that, there's a whole weight change as well, where things are just pushed down. Okay, there's like a whole weight distribution. So the features, the eyebrow bone, the eyebrow is in front of the eye. The eyelid is in front of the eye because if the eye is facing forward, this guy is looking in front of himself, like right directly in front. We don't see the eyes open looking directly at the camera because we're over top. He's not looking up at us, he's looking forward. So the eyelid is in front of it. So the lashes are in front of the eye. Everything starts stacking one object in front of the other. That's the giveaway for front view perspective. It's not hard to grasp because you just have to get one object in front of you. Another object, I have my phone, I have my nibs, and I'm putting the phone in front and I'm tilting them away. The size of the box of the pen nibs is completely different. It's happening right in front of you. And the brain needs that kind of proof in order to accept the fundamental. You have to prove this to your brain. So grab any object in front of you right now. Just grab any two objects, put them perfectly beside each other, and then rotate one side away from you while still keeping the objects connected. Look how small it gets. Look at how compressed it gets. Then make one object behind the other object and rotate. Preferably if you have two ball-like things. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be weird, but like if you can just get two balls and put them beside each other and then rotate them, you should be able to see that actually happening. One of them will be smaller than the other one. I'm so immature. Here we go. I have another one right here. So we have a shrinking and an expansion of one. They're perfectly the same size, but you tilt them away. One is getting bigger, one is getting smaller. Do that. Watch it happen. Do it multiple times. Watch that shit happen in front of you. And accept that perspective is not that hard. That's all it is. Just scale change and overlap. Scale change and stacking. Okay? Try it. Try practicing some perspective, some stacking, compared to the fundamentals of blocking and layering blocks and all those crazy classes I did about how to shed your line dependence. Stacking and overlapping is pretty basic compared to those two, right? So you can do it. You can elevate your paintings really, really easily they'll have this little thing about them. They'll just have this touch to them that just makes them feel so much more magical. So I will stop teaching now. If you guys want my masterclass, if you're having trouble painting faces and you want a class in my teaching style that's full 2 hours and more, I forget, is it 3? I forget. I made it with, and just poured all my knowledge into it, all my love into it. This is my masterclass. It's going to be on sale this weekend at 50% off. So if you want it, if you want to get better at your portraits, you want to understand what form is, what lighting is, what blocking is, what line dependence is, what geometric anatomy is, oh my gosh, which edges to use, which edges are the best, what subsurface scattering is, how to maintain symmetry, how to keep the anatomy going, little anatomy tricks, how to make a more hybrid painting of a face, how to keep it realistic. All of that stuff is in my masterclass. Like, if you want to join our community challenge, currently there's a community challenge. Oh, I need to update this. On my subreddit, you just have to go to the subreddit and there's a creature design challenge. You win 2 sessions for free, one-on-one with me. All you got to do is pick a flower of your choice. It doesn't have to be anything I pick for you, and turn it into a creature and hand it into this by the end of June or early July into our subreddit, and I'll look at all of them live. You get to sit with me in the call and talk to everybody with me right now, but later. It's gonna be really fun. I love flowers. I'm crazy about flowers. And so it's only natural I do a challenge about flowers at least once a year. Thank you guys for coming today. I'll see you guys Tuesday the 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Bye guys.